So you averaged 32 points per game your senior year, 12.2 rebounds, and 4.5 blocks. How in the world did you do that? Like, what about your game made you so good?
I think when you playing at the Red West at the time, that's one of the toughest conference to come through in all the basketball around the country at the time. And it was just like you watched The Last Dance. And that happened to be in the same era at the time where basketball was played at more of a physical style against guys that can jump, athletic and quick. Like we got the ground these type of guys. So, every night I was facing a double team, getting beat on. I mean, you had to. So for me, it was like the normal because I was seeing Detroit, Miami, and them do it against the Bulls all day. So I thought that we at the time that's how we embrace basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And for me was I got past the point of like, okay, I'm just physically skilled, gifted more than a lot of these kids, but I worked hard and the toughness was there along with the ability and then with the talent to just take over games. And like I said, and that's what I think was eye opening to a lot of people because they knew the physicality that I had to go through just to get to that point. So for me, when I was able to just like I think my freshman year, he started me on varsity. I averaged 16 a game. I averaged 16 points a game
As a freshman.
as a freshman. And that's why I say when when you're young, you're naive, you make mistakes or you don't know what's going on. You just doing something, you just playing. And that's how I was looking at these things. I wasn't looking at the greatness of where I was at a rank they was. I just was happy to get on the floor and play. And then my sophomore year, I ended up averaging like 20 points a game. And I was, that's when I think Nike camp called. Um, and that was the year when I went to Nike camp. My running partner happened to be AI.
How was it? How was like? Tell me how it was. I
Oh
would
my
love to know.
God. See, people understand back in the days, like at Nike camp, you had everybody, or you had the rest of the guys was over at Adidas, the Kobe's, the Tim Thomas. But was over at Nike, you had Corey Benjamin, myself, Mike Bibby, AI, Kevin Garnett, Antoine Jameson. I mean, the list goes on and on of the guys that was there. With me and me and AI on the same team. The crazy part, we was two starting guards, and our big man happened to be Tahiti White, who played at Georgetown at the time, who played with the Wizards, and Samaki
Mm-hmm.
Walker, who also played with the Lakers. But we was never passing the ball to them. It was like we was taking, but those was our big guys was doing their part. But me and AI was, we was the guys with the goals on the team. We was the scorers, and we were so similar to each other, in terms of how we think and our process on the floor, how we approached it. And a lot of coaches seen that. I mean, and the pair of us two up there was amazing playing together. Man, great guy. Still consider a great friend. I seen him last time he was up here in the Big Three. We was at the, I don't even want to say this, but we was at the casino together when he was in Chicago. And that was the biggest thing I think for a lot of people that was fans of AI, but a lot of people that know me. But what's so crazy, I had a couple of my coaches with me when we happened to go there. And when I walked up behind it, the coaches didn't really see him at first. They just seen the guy back. But they like, who's this guy hugging Ronnie this tight? And the minute AI turned around, those guys almost mouth dropped to the floor to realize who it was. And then they go telling those guys like, say, yeah, man, we, for us guys back in the days, even if when you hear Kevin talk or Matt Barnes or even Steven Jackson on how it was back in the days when we played, we embodied that type of basketball. And that's why we speak the way we speak of today's generation of players it's different. It's just different. Um, and that's what shaped us to, to realize to go through the physicality of what we thought at the time in our era is how you had to play and be tough.
So, what are your thoughts on today's league? Like you have like the LeBrons, the KDs, Stephen Curry. Like, what are your thoughts on those players and like the defense side of it and how different the defense is? Like, what do you think about that?
For me, great talent. I mean, like I said, LeBron has done an amazing job, out the guy like Michael and Kobe, and took the mantle to put the league in, to continue to build this game to where it's at. But for me, the difference of, and I'm happy that the Last Dance was shown at this point in time, because a lot of the youth in my program got a chance. They call and ask so many questions after watching it. To saying, we had no idea basketball was like that, or Michael was that great, and as I explained to them, the physicality, the size, not only that, if you look at the weight and the girth of guys, the build was so much different to the guys
Mm-hmm.
now. And the thing is, it's more scoring opportunity to highlight the skill set for a lot of these guys than it was back then. You got some great players, such as the James Hardens, the LeBrons, the KDs. And you get a chance to see, like I said, to see a guy like Kevin Durant, to me, is right now just probably my favorite player to watch in the league right now. Is unreal to be that size and that tall to do the things he can do.
I
And
agree.
and and to me, and Michael Jordan, that's my idol, my follow, love him, and he's the greatest ever. But when I'm talking about putting the ball in the basket, just with ease, Kevin Durant is probably, excuse me, the greatest scorer I've seen next to Michael Jordan. So
So I remember watching, just doing a little research on you, and they said that when you were in high school, it was harder to get a ticket to your game than the Chicago Bulls game with Michael Jordan on it. So why was that? Like, because I'm telling you, it's crazy how good you were and how athletic you were and how good of a dunker that you were. So explain to me why that was.
like, and it goes back to, like I said, we all at athleticism and people, like you say, that it made impacts regardless at the pro level, the college level, the, from an athletic standpoint, that put, that fans come out to see, who we owe all that credit to from who we in watch, regardless if it's our style like Mike's, or it's just an aerial assault, or just some of the things that, people that's in all to watch. It all starts and stems from one man. That's Michael. And that's for all of us, a generation after generation of, when you did some of the things that, or able to try to do some of the things he did. And at the time when people can like, wait a minute, we seeing a kid doing this along with a person, a man in the NBA, we got to go see him. So I think at the time it was like this. We did have Sammy Sosa, Marv McGuire. I mean, Sammy Sosa, Frank Thomas. We still had some iconic people in Chicago at the time, but it was us, and then it was the Bulls, then us. That was what was
Okay.
going on. It was MJ, and then us. It was like, I think it was crazy when it was the point was like, you're supposed to have a fire marshal. You can't have that many people. And then it's high school tickets supposed to be $5. I mean,
And
there's
y'all
people
packing
out
it
here
out.
selling. They selling tickets and make 70, 100, 200, $300 of this.
That's insane.
Yeah, I'm like, this is high school basketball, and it was it was crazy that the people was paying for that, and it was like, we like just getting ready. All right, let's go out and win this game. And Kevin knew, he was like, okay, this is not normal. For me, it was normal because I was in this city and I was born and raised. So for me, it was. But for Kevin, like, oh my goodness. So I mean, every game you can just see. If it was like waiting on a block or a fast break, the place was ready to erupt. And you have people driving from all over. To this day, I still get people that drive from Iowa or Wisconsin or Michigan.
That's insane.
And the impact. And like I said, there's been a lot of great players at that time. And that's why I'll never forget my guys, our group, our class of 96. We stand up, and people don't realize if we pull the lineup out there of just high school, think about who's on that team. Me, Kobe, Mike Bibby, Jermaine O'Neal, Steven Jackson, Tim Thomas, Corey Benjamin. Look at, like, people don't realize that 96 class just with us. And that's one of the biggest things, I talked to Corey Benjamin maybe, a couple months ago after the passing, and Bibby I talked to as well. When a guy like Kobe in our class, like, who came on late in that year to be one of the best players in the country was amazing. But for him to take it to the level, because we was probably, I tell people this, if you watch a lot of things for me, and we look at Michael was our idols. Me getting a chance to play with him when he had his first comeback, and we played, just practice pickup games. And I break down film. I watch Kobe throughout his career as well. The body control, the balance, the angles, the finishes. That's where my comparison was to him. The mentals part of it, all of us had the same. Kobe mindset, my mindset was like at all costs. Kobe had it as well. And with Kobe, it was the footwork, the back to the basket, the fade away. Those things where if you put us both together with my athleticism and him, you have Michael. And that's why I think at that time, to be compared to him in those ways, it was just, like I said, it was an honor. And like, as I watch The Last Dance, I get more calls, more messages. And a lot of people want me to come on, like Marcus Liberty want me to come on. So it's like, to talk about, anything with basketball or any lessons that I can share, I'm all for it.
So you brought up The Last Dance. How do you feel about, the certain clips with Michael Jordan taking food from, like, taking people's dinner and slapping them? How do you feel about that? How do you feel about it? I mean, honestly, because people have mixed opinions about it, but how do you feel?
Well, for me, like I say, I'm hard nosed and I want guys to follow. I think Kevin learned that trait when he got to Chicago. People don't realize Kevin wasn't talkative. He was not like that until he entered this city, and he had the right troops around him. You can get away with that. But I think for that part, I won't go to that extent of taking people food, but it worked for him. Whatever Mike, and as people seen yesterday, Mike knew what he was doing because it all worked out for him in every way.
Mm-hmm.
And that just basically what it came down to. It was like, it's like you own your own business and you want things done a certain way and you believe in it because it got you to that point. Mike did the same thing. He believed in what he did that got him to be great, that he can get other people to fall in line to do the same and just follow suit, and it worked. A lot of people don't work for like that. But for a
Yeah.
guy like that, it worked for.
All right. So, well, you brought up Allen Iverson earlier, and y'all's on the same Nike team. How was it playing with him? Like, what was y'all relationship like?
Well, when we like I said, it was like when we got there and like you get a chance to meet your teammates because at the time I heard of them, and then I knew a little bit of a story of what happened with the bar thing there and all that got taken care of. And then like I said, it was just playing ball, just hanging out, playing like I remember one time we was supposed to be getting ready for a game, so we was hanging out at the sore, we was a little sore. We was over at the jacuzzi just chilling, talking, trying to relax. We ended up standing there too long and then we got drained to where we was exhausted when we got back to get ready to play in the evening. Because at night you go rest, go back to your room, come back and play or go to class, all this. And we was exhausted. But on the floor at the time playing together was amazing. It was like doing some of the same things, taking, I feel bad because we was like, we wasn't saying Nike, we was ball hogs. We wanted to put the ball in the basket. But like I said, get a chance to play, with a guy like that, and people got a chance to see his greatness as he continued, to strive at Georgetown and in NBA.
Was it a struggle with y'all both being ball dominant players? Was it a struggle at first, like having y'all play together since y'all are both ball hogs?
No, because the other guys that just, they was gonna get what was left.
Oh man.
And
Okay.
I think we had big man. Just wanted to finish and block shots. So you get them a couple dunks here and there, and they was fine. The 3-man on our team, it was, he got a few buckets here and there, but I think it was like for him, I don't think it was too pleasant because it was like, okay, I bring it down. All right, you got it. All right, go ahead. And the coach was calling plays for me and him, backdoor lobs and stuff like that. So, I mean, and this the thing, I was the youngest on that team.
Are you serious?
This is what people don't realize. Well, some people do. Okay, so I think it was like 200-300 people at Nike. So they break down all-star games, right? According to your grade level. So at the end of the camps, they break it down. All right, you made the freshman or you made the sophomore. So I'm up here like, they call all the younger classes. I'm like, okay, what is I'm missing right now? And then they call the older class, the seniors. So I'm like, okay, I didn't even make the All-Star game. I swear I was playing good. And then to realize I was the only sophomore to ever make the senior All-Star game. On all seniors and 2 juniors. That was Kevin and Ron Mercer and me.
That is insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. So how old were you when you made the team?
Well, I think I was 16 at the
And
time.
how old was AI?
AI, I think, was 17 or 18.
So
Because
y'all
that was
were
his last year.
16,
Yeah.
17-year-olds just dominating the I cannot.
Yeah.
I cannot.
And
I wonder how they felt about that, like the older guys that that's crazy.
But this was people don't realize, who else was at the camp as well? The Collinson twins, the brothers that played in the NBA, they both went to Stanford. They was there too that people didn't realize. They both played in the NBA for a long time. One of them assistant coach with the Golden State Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot of guys that people didn't realize was at that camp. Wow. And that's why I say that year was amazing. I mean, we had some stories. Like I remember the last day. I know people around here that time probably say y'all was some just assholes. We had a food fight. Oh my God, yeah. Think about this. That place in the Hilton was the coaches left out and came back. Man, listen, you would have thought it was some 7-year-olds was in there throwing pasta, all kinds of mess. It was so bad when they walked in there. Oh my! I mean, just listen. As I look at that now, I was like, man, did we do that? We tore that room up.
Who was involved?
Everybody, all
so
the players
you,
that were
AI,
there.
and who else?
Tony Rutland, KG. I don't want to be snitching though, guys. 30 years later.
Y'all already got in trouble for it, didn't y'all? Y'all already got in trouble for it, right?
No, it was hard to figure out who did it because we was going home the next day. That was the end of the camp.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was the end of the camp. And then we had a lot of episodes. I tell a lot of people the story about that's when I saw Kevin, but my high school coach was coaching him at the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had no idea that me and him would team up one day. The crazy part about it, Nike had the top 40 shootout, the top 40 players in the whole country meet in Portland, where their base was at. That was all our first time ever going there, where they make everything. Jordan had a pavilion, John McEnroe. So we like, okay. And then all of a sudden, you don't know who your roommate is. So everybody getting there, they like, hey, get your keys to your room. You got practice at this time. So I get there and walk in my room, and bam, that's my roommate, KG.
Wow.
So all of a sudden we start talking. And then for me, I want to fall asleep. He's still talking.
Really?
And still, he probably right now, if I was asleep, he'll still be talking. And he's saying these things. You know, it's like you meet another person from another city and you just having conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you just throwing out things. Oh yeah, I like to hang out with you, whatever this. He's saying, man, what is like Chicago with this and that? And I'm just thinking he's just talking. The summer rolling around. I'm over here, you know, me, Randy Brown, another guy who was on that Last Dance with Jordan was fighting with that basketball on the ground when they won it. Randy, he was in the video. So we doing some dunks and stuff for a friend of ours was doing a rap video, right? Just outside playing. And then my coach pull up and I'm like, Kevin, get out of the car. I'm like, what the hell he doing here? How he get here? And then when he told me, he was like, man, listen, he here to stay. And I'm up here like, oh my goodness.
Were you happy or
This
sad?
about, huh?
Were you happy or sad or mad?
Oh man, I was super happy because it was
Okay.
like, I'm up here like, oh, then this is about to be bad for a lot of people. Because the big man, may rest in peace, as a matter of fact, he just passed away maybe about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
I'm
Um,
sorry.
yeah, I know it was that Big Kurt. He was like Anthony Mason back then, if you meant, and he passed away too. But he was that type of player. Um, but then I was like with Kevin, I'm like, oh, I got another big man to play with. But this was different because he was like any other big man that was like a guard with his passing ability, like all these things that he had. But this is the thing, he would play more. He wouldn't play much as aggressive until he got here. When we started taking him to the areas, like, hey, you 7 feet, act like that. And
Mm-hmm.
once he started getting the grasp of like being a monster, it was over. You know, because
Wow.
it was already my DNA here in Chicago. And then when he came here, and that's when we realized, like, we went down to Rantoul, Illinois, and we played down there. I think that game we combined, both at least had about 16 dunks.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we got back to Chicago, it was over. It was all over the place. And that,
So, wait, I'm sorry.
I say that was then we was the original Shaq and Kobe back then in high school.
I can see it, and I believe it. I really do believe it, honestly. I believe it because I've heard enough. I've heard enough. Okay, so I have a quick question. What was it like having Kevin Garnett as an opponent versus having him as a teammate? What was the differences, in that? And how did y'all adjust?
Where at Nike camp, matter of fact, at Nike camp, our team we was like a 500 team with me and AI. When we played against Kevin, they was like 11-1. Oh, they was deep. It was. They come on. They had Antoine Jameson, who also played with Vince Carter at North Carolina. Kevin, team was super stacked. So playing against him, he protecting the basket, and then he was able to move, and he was long, and he could defend. Even if you was a guard, he could defend you.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the difficult part about it. Then and then playing with him, it was like, okay, I know I'm blowing by my guy, and I got this guy down here. I'm putting this ball up here. And the crazy part about it, it wasn't nobody else's 6'11" or 7 feet can do what he did at the time. So he was. I tell you this. This is when I knew he was of the world special in high school. I found out in a game against one of my most difficult opponents, which schools was Westhouses, who
Mm-hmm.
always played us tough all the time. I found out that game. This is when you knew he can leave and go straight to the pros. If I recall, I think he had maybe I mean, he took over that game till I was a fan cheering like I had pom poms. I think he had 35 points, 24 rebounds, about 13 blocks, 12 assists. It was yeah,
Are you serious?
yeah, yeah. That shit was
I believe the
unreal.
35 points, but the 24 rebounds?
Oh yeah, it was ridiculous. It was yeah. I remember that game like crazy.
What was the locker room like after that?
Man, look, it was just like this dude is special. I mean, not on the one look. I was special, but he special at 6'11" of what he was doing. Because they would see a lot of tall people. But they wasn't doing that. Not like that in Chicago. You see what I'm saying? No, not like that in Chicago. You know, and then you ask anybody that played, or I mean, you get your ass beat in the Red West or just playing like I mean, and I remember the first game when he played his first conference game, and them guys were jumping on him, man, like he passed out after the game, like, oh my goodness. I said, man, that's just one game.
My
I say they're
goodness.
gonna beat you down. You better be ready to play. And then he adopted fast. He adopted fast to the style, the physicality of the game.
Okay, so you being who you were, him being who he was, were people like scared of y'all?
I think Chicago, when you're playing up, maybe when we played out of town on the road when we was dominating people, but people weren't scared of us here in Chicago. That's just how these people are in Chicago. They like, oh, we playing them? Oh, we finna get them. That's how they just thought. But we already knew what was finna happen. So for me, I think a lot of teams was mad at Farragut after Kevin. But then I was like, okay, Kevin graduated and left, so it was my turn. It was me, and then a bunch of young up and coming young guys that I had was pretty good, but played hard under me. And that's all you say. All right, wait to Kevin Lee. Wait to Kevin Lee. This one game I never forget. We was playing Manly School, who was always another school was known for tough, hard nosed guards,
Mm-hmm.
just like 5 pit bulls on the floor. So I'll never forget this game that we had to move it to a college site because we were still selling out and they gym couldn't hold the line of people. So we get there, I think we down 12, 14 points. And now you got to remember, you only get 8-minute quarters in high school. And you only get 5 fouls. So I had only 3 points and 3 fouls at halftime, and we was down 12 points. And this all I heard. Oh, they was going at it. Oh, no, KG, I told you, you garbage, you trash, you this. So my teammates looking at me, my coach, I ain't say nothing. I couldn't say nothing. So remember, I'm telling you, I had 3 points at half, and I had 3 fouls. I ended up finishing the game with 47 points, and we ended up winning by like 8.
How?
Exactly. That's what
How?
blew. I tell people this. When they seen the storm coming, and I just looked over at the bench, it looked like they seen a ghost.
So okay, listen. So you at halftime, you had 3 points, and you finished the
Three
game off with
points.
what?
I finished the game with 47 points
So you scored 44 points in
in the
16
second
minutes.
half. Yeah, 16 minutes.
It's
And the look on their face was priceless though. They whole bench, they coach, it's like you look at something, you like, okay, that ain't human. That's how
it's
they was
not.
looking.
It's not human because I remember you have a 50-inch vertical.
Yeah.
How in the world, like, how were you doing this in high school? Like, did you ever get accused of like being on like steroids or anything like that? Anything like that? Because that's crazy.
And that's what I tell people. A lot, they're just God given ability. I say one thing, and I could tell you, it's a lot of great leapers in the history that I've seen can jump and dunk. Another thing to be able to have that ability and control it in midair and in situations where you scoring from every angle and able to do these things. That's the difference. What I try to tell people all the time. I met a lot of great jumpers. I mean, can fly. But another thing is body control and finishing, angles, all those things in midair, and doing it a lot during the course of the game. Not 2 or 3 highlights here and there, but part of that during the game. So for
Exactly.
me, that was the thing where it was like, I think people like, okay, that right there, and this is the thing, the 50-inch vertical will come into play occasionally on the situation of the game.
Hmm.
And I mean that by this kid, Leonard Miles, was about 6'5", and we was playing in downstate Illinois, and he got on a fast break. And the first one, he finger rolled the ball. I said, man, why you dunk it? Your whole arm was over the rim and over the square of the backboard. I said, next time you do that, man, I'm going to come down there and get it. 7 plays later, he didn't listen to go dunk it. The place was jam-packed. He got on the break. He went up. This is when I realized when I'm jumping super high. He landed the ball up over the top of the square. I jumped up there and grabbed the ball out of midair over the top of the square.
It really is insane, like, honestly. And I remember listening to Vince Carter, and he was saying Ronnie Fields was doing what I'm doing now in high school. Like, that is
Yeah,
crazy.
man.
Like, you are a freak
I
of
love
nature, honestly.
it. I love Vince.
Honestly.
I mean, a lot of those guys you see, they are great guys. Vince is a great guy. I mean, and that's the thing. These how these guys was even back in high school, in terms of their demeanor. And like, for this was so crazy. I remember they had maybe about 10, 12 years ago, magazine came out with the top 100 dunkers of all times. And for me, a lot of people that know, and great as I was, Vince was, to me, Vince is, and like, of course, Michael and Dominique, but Vince, in terms of dunking the thing, I love him. I mean, it wasn't nobody better in terms of, it was just the flash and the finesse. A lot of these guys are great dunkers. But Vince, in terms of some of the things he did that I've done, that makes you say, to finish in that fashion that looks sexy, Vince had that.
Mm.
When that list came out, I think, and I wasn't, it was ranked high. I think I was 12th.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, a coach that I played for in the summer league was number 11 in front of me. So we're in the locker room getting ready for a game as the magazine was in there. You know who that guy happened to be? Chocolate Thunder Daryl Dawkins.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was my coach. May he rest in peace as well. And we were sitting there just cracking jokes, going over back and forth of, why he should be ranked high. But it was like, the guys that was in front of me was Daryl Dawkins, of course, Larry Nance, Spud Webb, Dominique Wilkins. I mean, some greats, Michael Jordan, Vince, some great dunkers. But for me, I'm going to always say, like Vince, Mike, Dominique, those guys was special in terms of how they done those things.
So, how different do you think the NBA would have been had you win?
Well, for me, as I watch the way the league is transitioned from back then and now, I mean, like I said, I think I would have been, like I said, box office, and in terms of what I've done, because like I said, it wasn't a matter of like, being nervous, because I mean, look what I played in, the situation. I mean, you always want to, compete against some of your peers. And at the time, if you look at some of our guys that came out of our class, they done pretty well. Jermaine
Mm-hmm.
O'Neal, Steven Jackson, Mike Bibby. Think about those guys. All of them have been in the finals. Kobe, um, and done well. And that shows like that breed of that year of how good we was. Like, that is crazy. Like, You think about Bibby, the big shots he played when he played with Sacramento, the battles against the Lakers with
Mhm.
Kobe and Shaq. And then you look with Steven Jackson when he was with the Pacers. And he also when he was with um San Antonio when he won it. Then you go, hey, Ron Artest is back there with us as well. Like a lot of people like don't realize that group of guys, he was at Nike camp. Randy Moss, Randy Moss, the football player,
Mhm.
White Chocolate,
Oh, yep. Jason Williams. Yep.
all those guys. So you forgot he was at Nike camp too. So it was like, for me, like I said, it would have been great. Like I said, everybody's path in life changed, depending on circumstances and mistakes. But I think the biggest things for me, as I look back and you learn as you move forward in life, of every opportunity that's granted from there for you moving forward, you learn from it, you take advantage, you do teaching, you teach about it, and like you be like thankful for just the opportunity to continue to move on and have a career and play. And you learn a lot. You learn a lot about yourself. You
Mhm.
learn a lot about people. You learn a lot about life. You ain't gonna learn as much at that age of, when you're 17, 18. You're just a kid out there just being a kid.
What was the difference between the young kid in the car crash to the man you are now?
Because when you're young, especially when all those things going, you don't want to say you invincible, but you looking at just enjoying yourself, having fun. And sometimes you do think you're invincible when you a younger kid. And sometimes you can come from circumstances where it might not be as strong of the support around you, where you will make mistakes that you shouldn't have made. But I think going through that at the time, you look at it, I tell people this, the scariest thing about that is that could have been like more like a paralyzed situation. And I think that's the biggest thing as I move forward of saying, because even when it happened and after that, I think I was getting so many bags of mail from all over of people that been in accidents that had to wear. I don't know if you've already seen some of those pictures where I had the halo on.
Mhm. Mhm.
That was one of the most difficult times in life where you like, wow. And then other people that had been in that situation that was sending pictures started making me feel better that I wasn't the only one that was going through that situation at the time. But you get a chance to start reflecting. And I think the good part for me to not like put myself in a situation where I was like putting my head and and drowning myself was I was young.
Yeah.
And realizing if you was older in that situation, you probably would have. I mean, my response probably would have been different.
Yeah.
When you're young, you're looking at, oh wait, man, I can recover from this and whatever and move forward. So it's like a naive type of thinking when you're young, and I think that helped me at the time to be able to like move forward and start trying to like mapping out where this is gonna go for me in life and what path that's carved out for me, and as I look back at it, and I look at a lot of great players that have played in the league, out of the league, and go through things even when they was in the league and out. A lot of them haven't responded as strong to situations that that they've been put in when they've been fortunate to be there or had that
Mhm.
opportunity. Some of them don't look back and say, all right, well, let me learn from that and make the best and maybe make a teaching point out of it. Because people don't, never want to feel, all right, man, that's it, or I'm on decline. No, you can't look at it like that. You got to look at it. You had your time, you had your moment, you take advantage of that moment, and you move forward because there's someone else coming up right behind
Yeah.
you, and that's just part of life, and not just in sports, but in anything. And that's how I looked at it from a lot of young kids that came up behind me, the Derrick Rose, Jabari Parkers, the Jaleel Okafors, the Will Bynums, the Sharon Collins, a lot of those great kids so it's their time. So for me, when, most time, like a lot of people call for interviews or this and that, I tell them, I'm an old man. Like I have my time. But when it comes down to talking sports or some wisdom and knowledge that I can share, then I love to do that.
It's really inspirational how, because a lot of times people in your situation, they would have gotten bitter, mad at the world. They would not, and a lot of people don't want to see other players be what they could have been. And it's super duper inspirational that you took like a whole different route and embrace those players and stuff like that. So if you could give a piece of advice to a young athlete, maybe that would have been maybe that's been in your shoes in the past, what advice would that be? Like, what would you give them?
Well, for me, I tell them that the biggest thing is this in life, just understanding mental strength, but mental strength of knowing of the right choices and right decision and the right people that have the best interest for you around you. But to learn from those things moving forward. And I think some people think when they make mistakes and yes, society puts you in a situation at times where some people are not strong enough mentally to like get over the hurdle of like having good press or bad press. That's part of life. That's part of the game that you're in. On how you make it. Some people, there's only very few people can be squeaky clean and not make mistakes to go through things, such as myself and Kobe in situations that we ended up in. And then you have guys like a LeBron that he does everything. An amazing role model for a lot of things that he do. Everybody's not going to be the same in terms of that split moment of choices that we make. That people can say, well, you should have. Those all fine and dandy, but sometimes you ain't in that person's mind of what they're thinking. And sometimes they have to go through those things to maybe learn in life. The Lord give you so many different opportunities in life. And the biggest thing for you as a human, to pay attention to when you know mistakes you have made, to look at it and say, wait, a lot of people don't make it or get opportunities to change or fix it. And for me, I took advantage of it. And I tell these young kids that, hey, you make a mistake, get back up, focus on it. The biggest thing that I tell people as I evolved in life and continue to learn is it's not the blessing of the skill or the talent that I'm happy that I was blessed with. It's more the mental part that I think bigger than anything. You can be blessed with all the talent and go out there and fall on your face because you're not mentally strong. And you see that a lot in the NBA now, and that's where it's just like mental toughness. And I think that talent, I think I'm most grateful and blessed for it, is that part than more so than my physical attributes on the basketball court. And like I said, I've been retired for a while now, but like I say, I'm thankful and grateful for a lot of the fans, the peoples that continue to follow, that reach out, such as yourself, and a lot of people that's in the sports and follow sports. Like thank you all for just still acknowledging the greatness of a lot of things that I accomplished. And like I said, I mean, I'm thankful and happy for you having me on.
Oh, no problem. It's been amazing to have you, and I really, really appreciate it. For real, for real. I really do.
Oh, thank you for what you're doing. And like I said, it's just amazing to see more women just doing these things that's in the sports, that understand sports. And the fact is, you did your homework. And hey, way to go. I mean, because, especially when you're doing interviews or you sitting down talking to people, you want to be comfortable yourself. And then as you sit down, you getting a chance to talk to these people and just get the feedback from our standpoint and a lot of things that, like I say, you looking to hear or the questions you're looking to ask. So, like I say, I just want to thank you for having me on. And I see down here as I'm talking, a lot of the fans and people, scrolling down, sending messages and stuff.
Hmm.
So I just want to thank those people as well.
Well, you have a great day. I know that you have a lot of stuff you got to go do. So I want to say thank you again, and I hope to talking to you for in the future. And you have a
Yeah,
great day.
you too. Take care.
All right, bye.
All right.